Welcome to Ask Rabbit Malicious Compliance. I have some awesome stories for you today. Let's jump right into it. This first post is titled, "My teacher called my work bad and my attitude even worse. It then got featured in the biggest art gallery in the country." Context. The school I go to is well respected in my country, so it is not uncommon for venues to request to display a student's work or to ask for students to sing live for them. On the occasion in question, the largest art gallery in the country, Gallery X, had asked my school to submit inspired art to be out on display. The school agreed and said they would submit 5 pieces of work, 1 piece per year for years 9 through 13. Back to the story. I hated art growing up, but it was a mandatory subject until you got to choose your subjects in year 10. Needless to say, I dropped the subject ASAP. Despite hating the subject, I still put effort into my work, and some of it wasn't that bad. However, at the same time, I would not hide away from expressing my views when we were given a task that I didn't see a point to, even if the teacher was in earshot. Needless to say, my relationship with the art department faculty was not the best. My teacher at the time particularly had it in for me. He was one of those teachers that has the view that their subject should be your most important subject, regardless of your future ambitions. If he thought that you weren't prioritizing art, then he would make your life hell. Yet again, I hated art as a subject. He knew this, but I would still do any work set to the best of my ability. We had just finished a project where we had to mix different pigments to create our own unique color. Being colorblind, I struggled a lot as I literally could not differentiate between half of the pigments. I gave it my all, but ended up giving up halfway through the project. My teacher hated me for giving up. In his defense, he had tried to make it as easy as possible for me, but I hated the subject and I saw a way out, so I took it. My teacher was beyond mad. When we went to hand the project in, he gave me a lecture about how I need to put more effort in and work harder because the quality of my work was unacceptable. Remember, I literally couldn't see half of the project. Once that project was finished, my teacher told us that Gallery X had asked that we create some inspired art. We were basically shown 5 different paintings that we were supposed to recreate in our own way. There was a big fuss about this. People were saying that art schools would be giving out scholarships, that there would be a $10,000 reward, and other nonsense that 14-year-olds make up. But nevertheless, everyone wanted to have their painting in Gallery X. So for the next month and a half in my art classes, we would work on our piece. After the first week of working on my piece, the excitement of the new project wore off, and so did my eagerness in lessons. My teacher noticed this and went from complimenting my work to yelling at me about what I was doing wrong. By the 4th week, I was over the project and just wanted to be done with this. With 2 weeks left on the project, my teacher pulls me aside and tells me that my work isn't good enough and I need to improve it. I tried to improve, but he kept on belittling me. So out of arrogance and spite, I made art my most important subject until the end of this project. I dragged myself to each lesson, quietly working myself to the bone, counting down the days until the deadline of the project. After what seemed like a year to 14-year-old me, the second to the last lesson arrives. This lesson was not for final touches or anything like that. My teacher had decided that he should review what each student has done well and where they could have improved. He walks around the classroom, complimenting everyone's work until he gets to mine. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I'm pretty sure none of it was positive. I do remember, however, how he finished talking about mine. You can tell that OP hasn't given this any thought and hasn't taken this seriously. That stung, because yes, I had lost interest in it, but I had still worked hard in lessons and given it my best shot. The bell then went, and I sulked out of class with my tail between my legs. The last lesson finally comes, and I can't wait to be over with this stupid project. This lesson was the big one too. The judges from Gallery X were coming to the school to judge all of the work. They come into our class, do all the formalities. These all look so good. I have no idea how we can decide on only one, etc. Then they start walking around the room, muttering to each other. The whole class is stood silently at the back, trying to hear what they're saying. They do a full lap of the room, then walk back over to my spot. I don't even notice this as I had tuned out after they had looked at the second painting. They then ask the teacher whose work they are standing over. He looks at them in the most disbelief as he gestures to me. I snap out of my daydream and just smile politely and have no idea what is going on. The judges then confer for a while, whilst my teacher and I frantically try and figure out what is going on. Finally, after 5 minutes of mumbling, They say that they want to shortlist it to potentially be shown in Gallery X. I look on at them in shock, then yet again smile politely and say thank you. I cannot begin to describe the look on my teacher's face. I don't think I have ever seen someone more confused, angry, and disappointed all at the same time. My teacher then begrudgingly thanks the judges and walks them to the door. He thanks them again as they leave and stumbles back to the class. He doesn't even congratulate me on my work, and he just defeatedly says, "Good work, everyone. As a reward, I'll put on a documentary for you all to watch." And he did just that, not saying another thing until the end of class. Later on that week, I got an email from Gallery X asking for my permission to display my work, of which I happily said yes to. To sum it up, the work that he disrespected and said that I put no effort into was selected from 192 others, got featured in the biggest art gallery in the country. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that first story. Before we get into the next couple of stories, if you guys could please do me a huge favor and hit that like button down below. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any future content. This next post is titled, "Boss Micromanages Even Though She Doesn't Know My Field. I finally stop arguing and do it her way, and it doesn't end well." I am the sole communications and social media person for a small company. I went to school in this field and have done it professionally in a few different spheres. My boss, on the other hand, doesn't even know what a Facebook or Twitter page looks like or what any of the buttons do. Yet, she still micromanages me all day, every day, and I'm going crazy. I always schedule our email campaigns spread out enough so that people aren't getting bombarded, generally one per week at most. This is one of the most basic rules of comms and should be common sense even if you don't have a degree in this. Multiple times, she has demanded that I post something immediately, even though the next few slots are already filled with posts that are more time sensitive. She always tells me to just send both the same day, and I have explained to her numerous times that this is a terrible idea. In nicer terms, of course. Well, I gave my 2 weeks notice this past Monday, so I don't care anymore about fighting for what's best for the company. This time, I said I was going to push back each of our scheduled posts by one slot so that we can post the listing for my job vacancy immediately, because for once, the new post actually is more time sensitive than the others. Once again, she tells me to just post both the job listing and the one originally planned for that day. Fine, I sent out both. It's been 3 days and we've already lost 11% of our subscribers and nobody has yet applied for my job since that listing was buried. I present stats on the success of our email campaigns, website, social media, etc. once per week to my boss's boss. I look forward to explaining this drop to him in a few days. Alright, this next post is titled, "My milkshakes make my manager angry." This was a few years ago, but I was reminded of it today in a conversation. I work for a big chain of restaurants and they had recently introduced milkshakes. We were all required to watch videos on how to make them, and the videos said that we should suggestively sell them. We never really did because they were time consuming and just generally annoying to make because you always ended up with milkshake slurry on your hands. So one day, my manager was really on my case and just nitpicking everything that I was doing. Normally, I was one of the better employees and my managers usually left me alone, but I guess I was having an off day. At a certain point, I got really irritated and decided that it would be a great time to ask every customer, "Would you like to try one of our new milkshakes as your drink today?" The manager was in the position that was required to make them. After selling several milkshakes that he had to make, the manager started yelling at me. I replied that the training video said that I was supposed to. He told me to stop, and I did, but every time he annoyed me in the future, I'd ask the next customer if they'd like to try a milkshake. He eventually got the point. Alright, that's going to wrap up today's malicious compliance video. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories today. If you did, definitely drop a comment down below and hit that like button for me. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any future videos. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.